Hi, it's Courtney with Squires Studio Suburban Microfarm, and I'm here with another update for you for the Johnny Appleseed Organic Gardening Invitational. So it actually just finished raining. Here in New Mexico, we have a monsoon season, so that's usually June, July, and the beginning of August. Sometimes through August, but usually the monsoon season ends towards the middle of August. So we get for the most part, we get light rains multiple times a week, which is very nice, a good relief from the heat. But then sometimes, like today, it comes down almost torrentially. So lots of wind, things get blown down. And I just walked out here to my garden for the first time today, since it just finished raining not too long ago, to take a look at my Johnny Appleseed Organic invitational contenders. And yeah, so this is all candid. I have not staked or propped anything up. This is just directly after the rain, so y'all will see how some of my stuff kind of looks, particularly my competition tomatoes. Right now they're kind of just like laid out, so we're gonna take a look at those, and I'm gonna kind of walk you guys through what I'm gonna try to do to help them bounce back from being so windblown. So we're gonna take a look at the tomatoes first, right after this. Okay, so these are my competition tomato plants here. And these are a mixture of true beefsteak, Cherokee purple, and brandywine. I also have some competition tomatoes planted on the other side of my garden. But these are the primary ones that I'm focusing on right now because these were just laid out in our rainstorm that we just had. So the issue I'm having with these is that I have bamboo stakes for them, and I plan to wrap them up the bamboo. And then I also have like a cattle panel trellis here that I'm going to take some twine to trellis these tomatoes up, but I haven't done it yet. So they have felt the effects of that today because they're all a little top heavy. They have lots of leafy growth towards the top of the plants, and then the bottoms are pretty bare because I've been pruning the bottom foliage off. And then I was giving them each 2 liters and then figuring out how to prune from there. But this one here, one of the leaders was broken. I just came out to discover that one of the leaders is broken. These plants still don't have any fruit, so the fact that a leader is broken is actually not that stressful for me. And it kind of just makes the decision for me as to which leaders to start pruning back. So I'm gonna prune these again today. I've pruned them like once a week or every other week. I'm gonna prune them again today and then tie them to these bamboo. I'm using these little clips and they're just not getting the job done. So I'm gonna try twine. I'm gonna try tying them to the bamboo stakes with the twine, and then also getting the twine that up here down at the bottom so that I can trellis them up towards the top of this cattle panel trellis. So once that's done, I'm sure I'll post a picture to Instagram to show you what that looks like. But it was just kind of like a shock to come out and see all my tomato plants laid out due to the storm. Like I said, I do have more over there, and all of these do have multiple leaders, so they'll be pruned back, and I think that they'll still bounce back. But it's just a little bit of a shock to come out to all my competition tomato plants that I have right here laid out. So this is how these tomato plants are doing. They're getting plenty of flowers at this point, but still no fruit. So that's the update on the tomatoes. Let's go take a look at the peppers. So I have 4 pepper plants. I am growing Carolina Reaper for the Johnny Appleseed Organic Gardening Invitational Competition. There's a couple daisies hanging over the peppers. I did get my peppers into the ground later than the other contestants due to having issues with germination with my first 2 rounds. So this is actually like the 3rd round of peppers that I started. And you can see that there's some insect damage on all of the peppers. Some little nibbles. But that hasn't stopped them from growing. So they're still getting some good growth to them. I'm just having to come out and check for pests from time to time, but you can see they've all been nibbled on. And I do have these mulched up with shredded paper. But they, you know, they've been in the ground for a couple weeks now and they've gotten some good growth to them. So this is how my peppers are doing. We don't have any blooms yet, but I'm still hopeful that we will get blooms within the next month so that we can have some peppers before the end of the competition, which is September 30th. So my peppers, I have been fertilizing with the Climate Guard every 2 weeks or so. And my goal with that is to just continue to make them more robust. So as they encounter pest damage, they can still grow and it won't be super detrimental to them. Up next, I'm going to show you my pink banana squash. And we also had to do some evasive maneuvers this past week to be able to help it thrive. So let's take a closer look. Okay, here's my pink banana squash. And I talked a little bit about this on my TikTok profile, that this beauty was getting attacked by roly-polies. So they were actually munching on the underside of this, where it was in the grass. It was holding moisture, pitting moisture between the fruit and the grass, and so the roly-polies loved it. And I rolled the fruit over the other day and saw a bunch of munch marks. So I was like, okay, we're gonna have to do something to keep that from happening, because this is my biggest fruit on the vine and this is my winner here, so we got to protect it. I do think that it will be able to kind of like scab over and it won't be an issue, but what we decided to do was put this board, this is just a board from a raised bed that we don't have put together right now, so we put this board under here as a barrier between the ground and the fruit. And then we layered some landscaping rock here at the edge of this raised bed. So there's one of the culprits. This is the main stalk of the plant. And you can see kind of like the white coloring there at the base of the plant, because it did have some pest damage there. But we've since mounded soil over that area a few times. But then we kind of pull it back to check for pests now and then. So you can see there's a vine that goes out that way, and then this vine to this fruit is over here. And then the other thing that we did was we buried this portion of the vine so that some roots can come from the node here and be able to feed this fruit with more nutrients. So we layered Climate Guard under there, and then we piled soil. We broke up the native soil, added Climate Guard, then put some raised bed and potting soil over the native soil and then over the vine. So this is how this fruit is looking. Here's my hand for comparison. It's like 1, 2, almost like 3 hands. Let me see if I can fit my arm here so you can see. It's like from the tip of my fingers almost to my elbow. So it's getting some good size to it. I'm so excited. I did grow these last year, but none of the ones that I grew last year were nearly this big. I knew that this fruit could get big, but I was not successful in growing a large fruit last year. So I'm already so excited that I've been able to get this much size to it. So this is the pink banana squash, and it's looking absolutely beautiful. Okay, and then here we have the most exquisite curated container arrangement. So I normally have it like pulled out onto these rocks, but it was raining really hard, and where it was on these rocks is where a lot of water rolls off the roof. So we moved it for the storm so that things wouldn't get torn up by the falling rainwater. So this will get moved back out into the yard tomorrow. And then the vines from the nasturtium are a little bit windblown right now, so we won't get a close-up on those, but the marigolds look really beautiful right now. And then we have the zinnias that are starting to bloom. I've been cutting these off a little bit as well, or deadheading the zinnias, to try to get them to be more bushy, and then also get some more more impressive blooms, because usually with cut and come again flowers, the first few flowers are less than impressive. So you can see this one is a little bit less than impressive. But yeah, we have more buds on the way, and this is just 2 zinnia plants, I believe. 1, yeah, and then 2. So I've been cutting them, pinching them back a little bit to try to get them to get multiple branches. And then exciting, finally getting a gladiola bloom stock. Although this is not the type of bloom stock I was expecting, because the ones I grew in the ground last year the bloom stalks were huge as compared to this. But I'm going to take what I can get at this point. Several of the gladiolus corms actually rotted in the grow bag. I think some of the gladiolus corms were being overwatered. We're getting a little bit overwatered. So a few of them rotted in the grow bag. I pulled those out. And then we have at least 1 bloom stock on the way. When that blooms, I'm gonna get my picture, because the marigolds are already putting on a show. And then I also have my lemon basil in here that's starting to flower. So I might pinch those back pretty soon as well. And then we have our nasturtium starting to vine up the bamboo. Okay, and last but not least, our sweet potato container. I actually trimmed off some of the leaves this past weekend to sell them at the farmer's market, actually as cooking greens. So sweet potato greens, I trimmed some of them off so that the vine wouldn't be so focused on leafy growth, but would also be putting some of the energy into the tubers. So I trimmed off mostly only the tender new leaves towards the end of the vines, and then left a lot of these larger ones that are closer to the tubers here. So this is how my sweet potato container is looking. It's looking really lush, and I'm excited to see all the growth that has happened with these sweet potatoes over the past month. I'm still keeping them in partial shade. The one sweet potato that I have in full sun is not getting as much growth, so I'm eager to see which one puts on the larger tuber. The one that's in partial shade here in New Mexico, or the one that's in full sun. So that is how things are looking here at the end of July for the Johnny Appleseed Organic Gardening Invitational. We have 2 more full months of growing. The last week of July that we're in right now, we have all of August and up until September the 30th. So September 30th is the last day of the competition, and we have to have all of our numbers submitted by that day. As in the weight for our heaviest tomato, heaviest squash, heaviest sweet potato, and our Scoville scale measurement for our hottest pepper. We also have voting the last, I want to say 2 weeks of September. I will post an announcement video here on YouTube, as well as my other social media platforms, letting you guys know when the voting starts and ends. And that will be for the most exquisite curated container arrangement, as well as your favorite organic gardening hack. And voting for both of those categories will take place on Instagram. But I will be sure to let you know as soon as voting opens. So thank you so much for continuing to follow my journey with Johnny Appleseed Organic in this gardening competition, as well as following along as we continue to establish our micro farm here in suburban Alamogordo, New Mexico. Until next time, keep learning and keep growing.